I have been deprived of peace. I have forgotten what prosperity is. So I say, my splendor is gone, and all that I had hoped from the Lord. I remember my affliction and my wandering, the bitterness and the gall. I will remember them, and my soul is downcast within me. Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. So I say to myself, the Lord is my portion. Therefore I will wait for him. The Lord is good to those whose hope is in him, to the one who seeks him. It is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. It is good for a man to bear the yoke while he is young. I'm an only child, so that explains a lot. We went to the zoo. We did a lot of things as a family. My childhood was really great. My mother and father got divorced whenever I was 15, so that was devastating, to say the least. I got married to my first husband, and we had 3 children together. He was very abusive, physically, emotionally, and I knew that I did not want to spend the rest of my life with him. So before any of my children were in school, we separated. I left him. I remember one particular incident that comes to mind is whenever I was pregnant with my son, and I was going to the doctor that day to see how many months pregnant I was, and I remember I'd fixed oatmeal for my husband, and I'm in the bathroom getting sick, and he's screaming, I gave him the wrong size spoon. So I went in there and I gave him the spoon. It was still the wrong size spoon, and he threw a Coke bottle at me and hit me with it. And there were a lot of things that he did. A lot. And eventually I met my second husband, who was a really big cocaine dealer on the West Bank. And I can remember we used to sit at the dining room table, and him and his partner would be weighing it out, on the triple beam diagram scales, and we would do coke off the rock. And he was also physically abusive. He got busted by the DEA. I was not involved in it, and he went to prison in Tallahassee, Florida in 1985. And I did marry him, so I didn't have to testify against him. But as soon as he was in prison, I divorced him, and I met my third husband. This marriage lasted about almost 30 years. I think it was early 90s. My ex-husband and I got saved and baptized together, but we never followed through with it. Continuously going to church and to Bible study and, being discipled. I watched my mother, and as I said, I'm an only child. I watched my mother die with cancer. At the time, my husband suggested that, after months and months of grieving and this, that, and the other, he suggested, I think you really need to go see a psychiatrist because, you need something. So I went and they put me on antidepressants and this, that, and the other, and it made it worse. I also tried suicide then too, over my mother dying. The marriage was really good up until the last couple of years. My husband lost his job in 2011, and things just kind of went downhill after that. So, and at the end, the last couple of years, he became very verbally abusive, blame me for this, blame me for that. And then he became physically abusive. And we are now divorced after a marriage that lasted almost 30 years. It was very devastating. I tried to commit suicide 2 times. We were living in Columbus, Georgia at the time. And the second time that I tried to commit suicide, I was involuntarily committed up in Atlanta for 2 weeks. And they brought me back to Columbus, Georgia. It was about 11:30 at night, so I called my son who lived in Tallahassee, and he rented a motel room. This was on a Friday night. And his 2 friends came and got me on Saturday. I spent Saturday with him. I spent Sunday, and I found him passed away in bed, January 13th, on a Monday. He had did a combination of Sudafed and he had gotten into my Xanaxes. And I got a phone number for this woman who owned a shelter for women. I stayed there for about 3 weeks and went back to the shelter. And a lady that I had met, she came and picked me up, and I stayed at her house pretty much all of March, and then I came here March of last year. Whenever I came back to New Orleans from Florida, I really didn't have any idea what the discipleship program included because I went to detox of Xanax. Prescription Xanax. So yeah, I was detoxing off of them at a local hospital here. Did the discipleship program. It is a good program. I've graduated May 28th, and I now have a job at the administration office, and I'm happy now. And it's been a real learning experience too, considering that I had no hope, no faith, no nothing. I remember one particular time when I went to went to a church, and the pastor's wife said, I'm going to pass out these envelopes, for your tithe. If you don't have a tithe, that's okay. Just write on the envelope with your finger what you would like. And at that time, I was at a point to where, as I said, I questioned the existence of Jesus. I wrote on there, I would like to have more faith and more hope. And I did it with my finger, and all I had was just a little bit of change in my wallet, and I put everything in there and put it back in the collection plate. And what's really ironic is here I am, oh God, where are you? Did you really make this? Did you? Yeah, right, and whatever. But then again, I would pray and say, I know you're working on me somehow. So it's kind of like maybe I really didn't lose my belief because of the fact that, I am saying, I know you're working on me. After my husband and I separated, I doubted God. To be honest, I wondered if he really existed because of everything that I was going through. When I came to the mission, I still had doubts. Oh, where are you? How could you do this to me? Why did you let this happen? I used to pray to you to please fix my marriage between me and my husband. And, I really can't tell you an exact time when I really started to believe again. I just know that it happened, and it seems like as soon as I did, a weight was lifted off. There's something that keeps going over and over in my head. It says if you put God first, everything else will follow. He's given me peace. I look back at this past year and previously of everything I've gone through, from, losing your mom. Okay, years went by, then all of a sudden, you're losing your husband, and then you lose your son, and it's, the suicide attempts. And obviously, God has a plan for me because I should have been dead. And I believe that. I truly do, because like I said, by all rights, I should have been dead a couple of times. And the only thing that I want to do is move forward. And I'm doing that. The material things are not really all that important, although at one time I thought they were. And they were to me. But that's not necessarily the case anymore. Except Jesus as your Lord and Savior. My name is Indy, and I am a disciple.